So commercially, the life cycle is a very important topic, and one of the, I guess we'll call it opportunity and challenge at the same time, is that, an access control system, the life of an access control system on average is 12 to 15 years. So people will, install a product on a wall and it's sitting there forever. I'll bet the first Mercury panel ever produced is still on the wall blinking somewhere, opening doors, which is good. But if you're in this environment of ever evolving security, ever evolving, new feature functions and things, and want to move that product forward, something that was designed in 1999 simply just can't keep up. So because of this, we're seeing a shortening of the overall product cycle. So instead of expecting a 12 to 15 year window for a system, that is condensing more and more. And it's, the technology and the industry is pushing us in that direction. And I think the industry needs to start to maybe accept that a little bit more, and not think that a controller is going to have a 12-year life cycle from an initial investment point of view.
Change isn't always bad, yeah.
I think we have seen that too. We have seen, a lot of our end users that will budget for a particular life cycle of products. So maybe they never budgeted before and it was more an exception, or they only did it for new buildings. But several end users, that I've talked to, they have a particular cycle for their CapEx to bring in new controllers. We talk to them about the need to probably update controllers every so many years, because as security standards evolve, the need to put even more powerful and more secure components on the boards increases. We need to turn those quicker and quicker. So I think the mentality, we see it in some respects change with some of our end users to know that, every 4 years or 6 years or whatever that they can accommodate in their budgets, they need to potentially replace things from a security standpoint to reduce risk, as well as just a support standpoint, because we support products, and when we discontinue a product, we support that product for multiple years, but it's difficult to support it for 20 years.
Well, I'd love for you to jump in, especially from that security posture point of view, because as mentioned, security landscape is evolving, I would say, more and more rapidly every year. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think the ability to adapt and be able to replace things more important is very important. And we've seen, you're talking about an embedded device here, these access control panels, right? I mean, eventually it's built on a Linux platform, right? And a lot of the components within there will go end of life eventually, right? And so how do you support this device, which is relying on critical components that go end of life? And if those critical components have a vulnerability in them, how do you patch them, right? How do you apply those patches? And so you have to be able to completely update your operating systems and libraries and things like that. But eventually you get to the point where the operating system is itself completely end of life. And now what do you do? Now the only support is to replace the operating system, right? And that may mean that the new operating systems don't support the hardware that you're on anymore. And now you got a whole new platform that you got to build out and release. So it's very important for people to consider going forward. Like, how am I going to, in 20 years, I need to replace this, period, right? It's not going to stick around that long. The hardware's going to change. We run into, because you said changing standards and things like that. Well, the attacks change, right? I mean, let's talk about what's coming out. We got AI these days. It's been real important, right? It's not only important for us by the capabilities and features, but there's AI-based attacks coming out now, right? And hackers are leveraging this type of technology to do more advanced attacks. Well, if you're still on a panel from 20 years ago, it never even considered AI as a threat, right? And so where are we going to be 20 years from now? So I think the ability to adapt is very important, right? And being able to adjust and plan for these types of changes is very important.
Yeah, and can I just add to that? So when you look at the access control world and what we do, I mean, a Mercury controller is a technology device, right? It has all this built-in stuff to drive access control and cybersecurity, and it does all these things. It's not that different than any other technology device that you're either going to have on you or have in your house, right? When's the last time? How old is the router in your house, right? I would expect it's younger than 20 years, right? When's the last time you upgraded your phone? You're not walking around with a 10-year-old phone. Maybe there's a few folks to do that, but it's predominantly not the status quo.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's hard to stay one step ahead if your technology is a few years behind.